So let me start the recording. It's recording and do like a sort of formal introduction to the show. So good afternoon, Thorsten. My name is Claudio, and this is Christian from Chile, from the studios in Fairfax City. We are very humble, grateful that Thorsten Quaeschning accepted our invitation to our show. Thorsten is a composer, multi-instrumentalist, and musical director who played and composed on more than 130 albums worldwide with different artists, including 75 albums with Tangerine Dream. He began to tour with Tangerine Dream behind the scenes in 2003, and before joining the band a couple of years later. Thorsten, welcome to the show.
Hello, thanks for having me.
No problem. What I will do, I will do like a round robin. I will ask 3 questions, then Christian will ask 2, and so on and so forth. So very, very informal. So this year has been a weird year for everybody. With all things that are going on with the pandemic, how is that affecting your creativity?
So it started quite normal. So I think we made a sound installation in Milan for a Kafka installation, and they used the Tangerine Dream album called Kafka the Castle as part of the museum event. So I was 1 week before all started with the COVID thing, and in Milan actually. Then going back to Germany, I played a couple of shows with Saga. Actually, maybe you know Saga. It's a Canadian progressive rock band.
Okay, very good.
And then I played also a concert in London together with Steve Hilch from Gong and Paul Frick. And then coming back after, I think, 5 or 6 shows, and then everything stopped. So I would have been part on the Howard Jones tour as well. So everything is delayed. So I think in this moment we were normally in playing the UK shows, and I think we would have started in end of September in Berlin in the Tempodrome, then going to Northern Germany, then Netherlands, I think France, and then a couple of, I think, 10 shows, nearly 10 shows in UK, and everything is delayed. So hopefully it's gonna happen next year. So it gives you time for studio production and to think about how to maybe make or offer things in a different way. So I started streaming 2 times a week in a series called Behind Closed Doors. This is one guest I'm invited for a session, and together with me, I think we recorded 25 sessions in 2 kind of seasons. And we actually now we are recording the new Tangerine Dream album, which should be released together with the next tour, which is to that moment June 21. So hopefully it's June 21, and we like to bundle the release of the album together with the tour. So that's the idea, but we have to record it, and we are, I think we are meeting 3 to 5 days a week and recording new music together with Hoshiko and Paul Frick, and Ulrich joins us via internet because he's located in London, UK.
Gotcha. Thank you very much. So growing up, were your parents particularly musical? You learned how to play the piano or any instrument when you were a little kid?
Not actually my parents. So my mother used to play recorder and flutes, but one of my uncles played viola in the Berlin Opera, and so I was kind of there was some friends of my parents and grandparents who played piano and studied. One was doing lessons in the university for composing, and there was always pianos and flutes everywhere, and I started playing. I think the first instrument I learned was recorder and flutes which I learned in a church. And then I came in a very elementary, the first grammar school, which was combined normal school with private lessons every day. So after school, I had lessons for violin, flutes, and piano every day. And I think then I lost interest in music for maybe 1.5 years, with 16, 15 years before I started playing in bands. And I think I started playing kind of progressive rock and gothic rock bands in the 90s, and was very much into classical music, progressive and goth. But goth in my world is something like the Mission, Fields of Nephilim, that kind of music.
Perfect, beautiful. I always wanted to ask a question to a German musician. So Germany is very well known for producing so many electronic musicians, you know, from the 70s and on. Why Berlin in particular is so well known all over the world? What's different from Berlin, kids growing up Berlin versus other cities, Munich and
I think Berlin is not so typical for Germany, to be honest. So because of the wall and the LE status, I think there's even a big difference between Berlin and, for example, Düsseldorf, where Neu and Kraftwerk and all the other bands came from. I think the people in the 70s who made music or started bands in Berlin were more free-formed musicians who like to kind of the idea of morphing music into each other, a more atmospheric type of music. On the other hand, you have the people from Western Germany, Düsseldorf, like Neu and La Düsseldorf and Kraftwerk, who were mainly studying music, and they had a totally different approach to make music, because it must. I think the study of music, approach of music, is that you doing things more intentionally, so you know what's going to happen in the next 2 hours. And I think the good thing about Berlin music in the 70s, like Ashra, Temple, Agitation Free, Tangerine Dream, and KLUSTER, was that everything could happen in every second, because it was kind of more a morphing process while playing the music, and not composed from minute 1 to 100. So I think, and it was, so Berlin was the island-esque type of character, because around you had the GDR, so we could travel everywhere, but we have to pass the GDR, and I think things was quite very different, and not in my type of world. Great, not typically German in Berlin, and that's a good thing.
I got you. Beautiful. Yeah, go ahead, Christian.
Okay, Mr. Pleasure to meet you. An honor, really. I have to say first than anything else that I find you're incredibly talented and amazingly creative. This is very honestly comes from my heart. And I've been a Tangerine Dream fan. I've been a Tangerine Dream fan since I was like 15. Rubicon was the first album I ever heard. I was totally impressed because it's kind of obscure. I've always been into film music, fantasy film music, and I was going to mention that I've been checking your discography. Honestly, I haven't had the chance to listen to the whole set, but you have some compositions, some pieces like for Das Cabinet, you know, Caligari, and Witches and Vampires. Is this just a coincidence, or do you have yourself, are you in any manner attached to that type of movie or directors or trends in cinema?
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. So thank you very much, because it's even a little bit better because you have the Peter Gabriel "A Flower Supper's Ready" picture. Yeah, I love Genesis Supper's Ready. Okay. Beside this, Picture Pals Music, my second band after the goth rock band, was called after a picture palace, Music for Picture Palace, which is an old movie, old cinema. And the idea was to play live music to silent movies. And we had some tours through cinemas, seeing Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, Nosferatu, Faust, Metropolis. And I think that it was getting bigger and bigger, because we're even on the stage, because we were 12 people on stage sometimes. And so we really loved the idea of kind of haunting, moody silent movies. I'm not so in comedy silent movies. So Buster Keaton, Charlie Chaplin, and all these is not. So maybe because of my type of music. So I think my music won't work with comedy, hopefully. But we really like the kind of fantasy, horror-esque type of movies, and it fits quite well. And because some of the movies work like a theater play. So you don't have the moving cameras, and people came from the sides to the center of the picture, and it feels like a theater play. And this is something I really like, and the idea of expressionistic type of movie like Caligari fits very well with electronic music, I guess, because the idea was, okay, there was maybe piano scores or string scores back in 1917, sorry. But if they would have synthesizer and like not natural sounds, I think this works so brilliant. If we have, because the idea was not to recreate the reality, but to create something, a new media form with new ideas and new approaches to find a result.
Are you in any way, yeah, thank you. Are you in any way familiar with In the Nursery from England? That they've been doing the same, and so has, who else was it? Making these scores for silent movies. I was wondering, how do you manage not to make music become at times the protagonist when you have this only image? There are no voices. I think there must be a thin line where you have to avoid the music. Taking away the concentration of the viewer. You know what I mean? It's different from when you make music for sound movies, like these days. Yeah.
So I think we made one of the biggest mistakes of picture-based music once we tried to recreate even the voices and sounds of Nosferatu. So we had doing kind of voiceover and Foley sounds, but after 10 years now, I think it wasn't a very good idea to do things like this, because it doesn't work at all, to be honest. But the good thing on Metropolis, we're doing the kind of 5.1 surround sounds if the plane flies through the film. That works quite well. But okay, but Nosferatu was one of the ideas was to understand what they are saying, or okay, because it's in German, you see a lot of letters, but written in very, very old script German, so no one can read it even in German. But we don't have subtitles because we are in Germany. So this was probably the only good idea, to read the letters you see in the movie, because you wouldn't have a chance to know what they mean or meant. There's a totally different approach to you're totally right, to have films with words, and like Star Wars, you have kind of more opera music, I guess, to have 60-70 minutes of music, and take care of attention spans, as you mean that they could follow the movie. And nowadays films, you have to, it's much less music. You have to take care of every frequency of every voice in the movie. And to be honest, it's sometimes less fun.
It's too much sometimes, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, are you, I mean, it's not a question. I'm sure you're aware that 1977 was the year when one of my favorite albums, and possibly one of yours too, Sorcerer, was released, and that was when you were born. Does it make any effect on you? Like, it's special. It's a meaningful coincidence, isn't it?
Absolutely. I really love Sorcerer. So I think, but it's hard to choose. So I really loved Sight, Fedra, Ricochet, and Sorcerer from the 70s. But Sorcerer is very dark. It's kind of a gothic electronic score, and very minimalistic. I think beside one track, everything is in C minor. And I'm actually not sure what happened to the other. Probably the tape speed was wrong, because it was I guess it should be in C minor too. But it worked quite well, and it's, I think, the conclusion of the C minor sequences, and maybe the last big Mellotron album is Tangerine Dream. I think, yeah, I guess after this, Force Majeure, Tangram, is a totally different approach to the music. I think it's the last big Mellotron album, and I really love the sound of Mellotron.
Yeah. So you love Genesis. That's why you like Genesis.
Absolutely. Watch of the Skies, sailing,
exactly.
Dancing with the Moonlit Night is so, the choir, Mellotron choir is brilliant. It's great. And Court of Crimson King and all the Yes albums, great.
Yeah. Don't you think Watcher is very much gothic in every sense? It's almost terrifying at times, huh? Tony Banks.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, in relation to that, I have a question that you possibly are going to elaborate a little bit on. It's what personal qualities as a musician, as a composer, do you think gave you the chance and the right to lead, I would say, one of the most significant and influential rock or electronic bands of the world, Tangerine Dream, no less. You were possibly a fan first, and then now you are there. How does it feel? How did it happen?
So they were looking for a keyboard and piano player in 2003, and I was playing a lot of productions for other bands in Berlin. And one of the people who worked for EDGAR in his office, who was just said, okay, I will send you 3 people from Berlin to Vienna, and I was one of them. And so I can't answer the rest of the question, because I won't say anything good about me, depending. So I think it worked quite well with EDGAR. So and maybe this is obviously the main reason. So we lived together from 2003 until 2014. So 5 till 7 months a year in his house near Vienna, and I think it wouldn't have worked if it wouldn't. So a little bit friendship must be. So it was, I think, a good friendship all the years. It's a good colleague, and the little bit fun fact. So I learned all the sequencer and electronic bass sounds and from him, because I wasn't so much into electronic music before. So I never programmed a 16-step sequencer before. So it's maybe good or bad, but so I had the chance that EDGAR taught me exactly how I should do this. And so I think that was the idea. It looked like the master who tells me how to do electronic music. Yeah, so it worked quite well. So it was called musical director in 2011. And so it was never my choice to, if I if so to carry on, it was not our choice. And this is an absolutely good thing, because Edgar was a man who makes plans for everything, absolutely everything. And there was plan for that scenario, plan for this scenario. And so there was kind of exactly orders, the bad thing of being German, sorry, taking order, sorry. But if orders from Edgar is a good thing. And it was just a new quest to just, so it was very detailed about the ideas and the concepts. And so I think it was just another quest from Edgar to do this. And it is absolutely an honor. Sometimes it's hard because you have to take care about the heritage of nearly 200 albums, so many eras, so many views and sounds and internal views. So they are fixed scales we are using in Tangerine Dream. So, and I think this is a good thing to keep and go the way along that scales in the future. And sometimes it's hard. Most of the time it's a good feeling, but you have to take care about many things.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah. Thanks, Claudio. What is a movie? Obviously, you're a movie fan. You could mention a couple of movies that you really like or would like to make music for in the future that would go well with your style or the band style. What are those?
So I think that's not coupled with a special genre. So I would love to do. I did a couple of movies, and I just finished a documentary. The deadline was on Friday, and I think it's it's going to be screened in German television in end of December. But so I did a score for Cargo, which is an American movie. Took place in a cargo container, and I think the good work also was doing the music for GTA 5, Grand Theft Auto 5, which is a computer game but very close to a movie. So with a little different approach, because you have to avoid the big melodies, because I think the time people hearing the music, sometimes they're playing one mission and some are going to complete that mission in 5 minutes, and some are going to complete that mission in 2 weeks. And you can't do the Tetris theme all the way long, so you have to avoid big melodies and doing more atmospheres. But so I watched the last Coppola movie, On the Rocks. It's been Murray, I think 2 days ago. It's on Apple TV now because it doesn't work in the cinemas. I think it was a great movie. But okay, I'm a big fan of Lost in Translation, which is, I think, the better movie, but even half as good is better than most of other movies. So I really like On the Rocks too. I'm a big fan of, I really like Leaving Las Vegas. Is great. Yeah, things like this, not so action esque, but yeah, I think good stories or good moods or atmospheres are maybe my favorite movies.
Not the Fast and Furious kind, huh? No.
That's true.
Yeah, you will have to play very fast, and that will be it. Nothing more exciting than that. Yeah, simple melodies. Now, I've been reading, of course, about you before this interview a lot, and it's interesting to know that you are going to work with Howard Jones, whose music I really like. Saga, we used to play here in Chile a song called Time's Up that I really love. I read Schiller, ROEDELIUS, whom I had the pleasure of meeting once here in Chile. HARALD, whose synthesis album I really love, and Jean-Michel Jarre and Mr. SCHNAUSS. I really, really, really like him. I can ask you a specific question, but I'd like to get some impression of how has been your work with them. I don't know, Jarre. I was surprised to know that you will work with Mr.
Yeah.
Michel Jarre.
So the idea was was called Electronic. It was a collaboration album together with many other artists, and he visited us in Vienna, in the near of Vienna once, and we made one track together called I think Zero Gravity, and he is one of the nicest people I ever met. He is a very, very nice person, and very easygoing person as well. And the thing I learned from Jarre was I'm normally stacking track by track and sound by sound and going on for 100 tracks per song. If you, yeah, song is great, but you know what I mean. And Jean-Michel Jarre did the kind of the magic track thing by using only 3 instruments. And it was unbelievable sometimes. He was doing magic with his ARP 2.6. And yeah, as I was I need so many, many kind of stacks to, yeah, maybe hide the one good sound. And he is very good in finding the one brilliant sound, I guess. This was, yeah, I think the story of with Jean-Michel Jarre. It was very easy to work with, yeah, and brilliant sounds.
A little observation. I have to be very honest. I really love his music, especially Oxygen and Equinox. The first 2 for me are brilliant. Mm-hmm. I had the lucky chance to meet his father here in 1988. And Maurice, super. Yeah, that's another world. But then I've always had the impression that Mr. Jarre is like obviously a showman. He's a great musician and composer, but I never know if all the people on stage are playing something. I'm sorry to say this. It's like it's a mystery because electronic music, you know, can be created. I'm very ignorant about it. I'm talking out of my ignorance. But I always wonder, is everyone really playing something? How much is on a basis, on a tape, on a file, etc.?
I think things like drum loops are on tapes and maybe clock-driven or synced arpeggiators, but there's a lot of playing on Jean-Michel Jarre. There was one, I think a tour called Analog Tour, something like this. You can find it in YouTube. It was kind of a very messy, sad moment because there's a video where every analog synth runs so much out of tune, and they had so much trouble to get everything in sync again. And I won't say that was a big success to get everything in sync again, to be honest. So it is very live sometimes on Jarre shows. It's unbelievable. So, but I know that hustle. So I have, I think, 3 Moogs at the time on stage. I have the modular stuff, and if the temperatures are rising or falling too much, you have a big problem with analog stuff on stage. So playing a night set on a festival, you can, yeah. So that's the reason I have some digital synths with me as well, so I know they are at least in tune.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
So Thorsten, you have, participated in so many, reincarnation of Tangerine Dream since 2005, playing with Edgar, with Jerome, with Linda, with Bernard, now with Yoshiko, and so forth. Is any period that you like better than other, or, well, they were different, right? The stuff you did in 2005, very different from the stuff you guys did in, let's say, 2011 or so on and so forth. You like one period and better than the others?
So I'm very bad in rating things I'm involved with. So I think rate side is much better than everything we did in 2010 for me. But that's not my position to rate things. So I'm very lucky how it sounds now, to be honest. even the concept we played the tour. We played the tour in summer 2014 with the kind of older lineup with Linda, Bernie, and Iris, and then we played some concerts in Australia as a four-piece with Ulrich, Hoshiko, Edgar, and me, and this worked very good. So I wasn't not the biggest fan of saxophone and percussion, which is not connected with the people, but just only with the instruments, to be honest. So, so I'm probably saying too much, but my biggest problem was as a kid, I saw a show with Tina Turner, and there was the most. There was a saxophone player, half naked, the muscle kind of Sunny, and I hated him for just acting what he did on stage. Probably he's a nice guy. Probably he's one of the best saxophone players. But as a kid, especially or maybe as a teenager, so I liked Robert Smith too. That maybe in this year I said Robert Smith from The Cure is one of the coolest guys, and then you see the surfer type of guy. And I think that's one of the biggest problems I have with saxophones in my life, to see the Tina Turner saxophone player, and and using percussion in electronic music is always a little bit. It feels not right all the time, because we have a lot of polyrhythm things. Like ricochet, you have not a static 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. You have a six step, you have 10 steps, 12, 14, and everything is moving and morphing into each other. If when you have now a percussion groove on 4/4, you are nailing the one in the music that never exists. Sounds strange, but hopefully you know what I mean. So to have a steady shaker sound like Love and Real Train, there's no obvious one. But if you have a percussion groove, it doesn't work with polyrhythm electronic music so good, at least in my part of my work.
Yeah, gotcha. So recently I bought the album from Yoshiko and Paul Frick, the other one that you did with Stefan Graf, the latest one. They are very, very good. I mean, very, very good.
Thank you. Yeah, Paul is an unbelievably good piano player. So I think he adds a lot to Tangerine Dream no one of us would have played before. So I think not to simplify people, but I think I'm good in the 70s sequences and solo things. Ulrich is unbelievably good in sound designs and all the reverbs and all the moods and the chords. And now we have Paul, who adds a lot of the staccato sounds. I think Ulrich nor I ever had played a very dry staccato sound. And now we have another dimension in the music, and it works very well. So he joined us on stage, I'm not sure, 5-6 times in concerts before. We asked him if he would like to join, and it works very well. And Hoshiko is doing brilliant melodies. And so the problem with Hoshiko and the audience is Hoshiko is doing a lot of things. There are some effect pedals built for guitars, who doing also the Mellotron stuff. It's called electronic harmonics tape something. I'm not sure about the name, but it's an guitar pedal who turns guitar sounds into Mellotron, and she uses this for the violin. So sometimes she's playing also the choir or the flutes, but it's not so obvious that the audience sees what she's doing. So sometimes she's doing some loops with Moog filters over it, but she's very important for the sound in the last years.
Great. How did the project Cargo came about? I mean, Tangerine Dream have produced so many soundtracks, right? So are you interested in that area? You like to do OSTs, and you see part of as an individual, doing recording for the soundtracks and.
Absolutely. So I really love. I think soundtrack work is one of my favorite works.